Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GPS Global Paradigm. Got to make sure they can hear us, Jason. So we have to make sure the main camera's in. Okay, now that that is done, everybody should be able to hear us. Okay, so in order to join us on the show today, the numbers to call 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272. The WhatsApp line is 8010271, 8010271, and you can both call and text us on that line. We are streaming live on Facebook on the official Michelle Malcolm and Global 99.5 FM pages. You can also check us out on YouTube on our official channels. Cable Bahamas Channel 974 is where you find us on cable. And, of course, on radio here in New Providence. Global 99.5 FM on your radio dial. And a huge welcome to our audience coming all the way from Grand Bahama. So before I introduce my panel, we are going to be talking today about 50 years and what this Golden Jubilee really means to the Bahamas, because, you know, a lot of people are celebrating and we have lots of activities going on and everybody's in a good mood and a party mood. But if we want to do some deeper reflection, what does this 50th anniversary really mean or should mean to us at all levels? That's what we're going to be talking about today. And in a moment, I'm going to introduce my guests. But first, I want to start with a clip because you would have heard about the Great Reset. And this is an opportunity for countries around the world to look at where we are and figure out how we can make the world a better place going forward. So I'm going to play this clip first, featuring our king, Charles. And thereafter, we're going to introduce our guests and talk about how we in the Bahamas, perhaps, should also be wondering whether or not this is an opportunity for us to reset what we have going on in our very own country. So first, let's begin with this clip.
We have an incredible opportunity to create entirely new sustainable industries, investing in nature as the true engine of our economy.
The current global crisis has disrupted every aspect of our lives, but it has also presented us with an extraordinary opportunity, a chance to reset and accelerate efforts to improve the state of our world.
Changing our current trajectory will require bold and imaginative action, together with determination and decisive leadership. In order to secure our future and to prosper, we need to evolve our economic model, putting people and planet at the heart of global value creation. If there is one critical lesson we have to learn from this crisis, we need to put nature at the heart of how we operate. We are on the verge of catalytic breakthroughs that will alter our view of what is possible and profitable within the framework of a sustainable future. We need nothing short of a paradigm shift, one that inspires action at revolutionary levels and pace. We simply cannot waste any more time. The only limit is our willingness to act. And the time to act is now.
All right, so let's bring our guests into the stream so we can see everybody here. And I want to welcome them. They are members of the Kingdom Jubilee Alliance, a platform created for the uniting of Bahamians living here and abroad to embrace the significance of this Golden Jubilee moment, the celebration of our Golden Jubilee as a God-ordained reset moment based on Leviticus 25, which speaks of a nation at its 49th, 50th year and the extent to which that nation ought to undergo significant reform. The members of the Kingdom Jubilee Alliance are hoping that we see this as an opportunity to reset and restore our spiritual values, access to land, rebuilding our families, cancellation of our debts, and setting free of persons in bondage. In other words, rebuilding our proverbial walls. And the Kingdom Jubilee Alliance consists of pastors and ministers from various churches, along with other professionals who are lending their collective voices with a view to ensuring that this moment is a beginning towards transformation of the Bahamas for generations yet unborn. And they say we will become owners and possessors of the nation. And this is a righteous cause and hence a conversation the church ought to lead and engage upon. So welcome to you all. The persons who are appearing on the show today are Pastor Glenn Roll from the Grace Center. Pastor, welcome to you.
Good afternoon, Michelle. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us.
He is the spokesperson for the Kingdom Jubilee Alliance. Also joining us is Bishop Sanford Rolls Sr., First Assistant Pastor of Southland Cathedral Global Ministries. Welcome to you.
Good afternoon. Good to be with you.
All right. Also joining us is Bishop Bernard A. Young, Genesis Leadership Institute, Cable Beach West, Bay Street. Welcome to you.
Pleasant good afternoon and welcome to you, Michelle, and the rest of my colleagues and all that are listening to us in the immediate area of the Bahamas and in the international territories and borders.
Yes,
Welcome.
And welcome to you. And finally, we have Kimberly Miners, Child Evangelist Fellowship Bahamas, responsible for global mission and the spokesperson for Family Matters. Welcome to you.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much. It is wonderful to be here, especially with my esteemed brethren. So thank you for
You know, we ladies got to hold it down, eh?
that's what I'm talking, right?
That's the plan for the day, I hope.
All right. Okay, so opportunity to reset. We would have heard in that clip King Charles talking about how the world needs to see this as an opportunity to reset, start over, do things the right way going forward. If that is applicable to the world, how much more applicable is it to the Bahamas?
Well, Michelle, good afternoon again. I want to thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for having the visionary leadership. You know, when you came up with this program, Paradigm Shift, and I heard some of the many things that define what the platform is about.
Mm-hmm.
I almost thought that perhaps you were leading this reset conversation at least 5 years ago. And so I think it goes well to say that if you believe in something, if you have a sense of where the country needs to go, notwithstanding you're prepared to go out there and get the headwinds, that eventually people will catch up. And I think we're finally catching up. And I do think in response to your question, and I certainly want to thank everybody for joining us. And of course, I joined Bernard with our various colleagues to have this conversation. And it is a sobering conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so often we are caught in the what I would refer to as the trivial things, but to have this conversation is very, very important in that regard. Having said that, I do believe that the Bahamas was beginning to get this point. I'll use this as a point of reference. Dr. Miles talked about the nation preparing itself to undergo significant changes. And we could sort of almost mark that from that point on, or even before that, to begin to see the Bahamas sort of shifting in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe the comment of Hurricane Doreen was a signal that the Bahamas was to undergo the kind of changes and to be reflected in how we go about doing things. But then I think COVID-19 sort of lend itself in even greater way, that the Bahamas having to almost like this little cocoon shut in. The Bahamas found itself in a place having to tow long lines, businesses shut down as we know it. The thriving tourism industry as we know it seemed basically non-existent. So everything around us sort of suggests that the Bahamas was perhaps destined to sort of be, along with the world, to be this place and this country that really had to take this moment to reflect and look at how we do things. And so I do think that we are very, very a nation that is very, very appropriate in terms of having this conversation. And we'll talk a little bit more about those things in terms of even the 50th anniversary. I think the 50th anniversary lends itself to what I call the apex. It almost as if it is forcing us to say we have to have this conversation because we are at the turning point and we're at the place where if we are going to go forward, then we know that this cycle as it emerges is going to be an important part of the conversation. And you rightfully pointed out, the church ought to lead the way in that conversation. We led the way in the 50s and the 60s against social injustice. The Progressive Liberal Party, as we know it, lend itself to the voices of Black preachers coming to the Bahamas and speaking out against some things. And so I do believe that there are social injustice still amongst us that we were supposed to at least be ahead of, but we have to deal with these things. And beyond celebrations that we have, beyond all of the things, and they're good, the praise practice, the independence celebration, the Junkun, and all of those things, what meaningful conversation are we going to have? What meaningful conversation in the context that when the founding fathers envisioned the nation, they talk about, see how the world marks the manner of your bearing. And so this is a proper conversation. I believe we ought to have it. And I just say this final thought in this way, that even as a nation, with the passing of the Queen, which is again another marker in my mind, that the country ought to at least ask itself, what does this mean going forward for us? Will we continue to be a part of a colonial system, or to what extent as a nation we truly embrace this idea of Jubilee, this idea of freedom, this idea of charting our own destiny? And I believe that that should be in keeping with what the founding fathers envisioned some 50 years ago.
I want to, before I bring everybody else's voice in here, I want to read one of the comments coming in from one of our Facebook viewers. And this person says, let's see if I can get it to come up. What exactly are we independent from if we are still pledging our allegiance to King Charles III, as we heard on the funeral audio from yesterday's show? Who wants to tackle that before we dive into the areas that you all are stating that we need to be paying particular attention to?
Yeah.
But others may, but let me just sort of say this in the context of what I said earlier, that I don't think, God bless her soul, but I don't think the passing of the Queen, especially during the 49th anniversary of the Bahamas, we know we had, for an example, the royalties over to the Bahamas about 2 years ago. And there was an opening for this conversation in terms of we had a place where we ought to go in a different direction. So I do think that we have to address these things. You had Mr. Thompson on your show yesterday, for an example. And one of the things that I raised with him is the fact that even our Constitution speaks to Her Majesty. Now, I'm not a legal expert, but if that is the language that is all through our Constitution, then something other than the 50th anniversary should be able to say to us, let's engage the public. Let's talk about where do we go from here. And I do believe that if we're talking about 50th anniversary, that we have to find a way to really shed ourselves of the colonial past, because independence should really mean the carving out of a sovereign nation. I think that's the journey that the founding fathers would have envisioned some 50 years ago, but it's left to our new generation now to continue that progress, march on to glory, until the road we trod leads on to our God. And so the idea of God within the context of nation means that we should not find ourselves as subject to no man. I think it's offensive 50 years later. I think it's an insult. And this is a conversation that I believe all of us are prepared to have, and the church ought to lend its voice to it.
Are you suggesting that we need to consider going down the road of perhaps becoming a republic? Or are you suggesting we just open a dialogue to determine where we want to go?
I think the Bahamas ought to set its own pace. I mean, that's my view. I don't think it's about the continuation of a copy system. I think the fact that we have multitude of islands, the fact that we have this natural makeup, we could carve out a destiny that is unique to us. Why can't the world lead us in this? But here's what I say in that regard is that we know that there ought to be some fundamental things involved in our governance. The idea of servant leadership, the idea of righteousness, the idea of fairness, the idea of equity. All of those should be a part of what that new model look like. But the idea that we should still be a part of a nation that does not even look like us is not in keeping with the sovereignty that I believe the founding fathers envisioned. And I do think the Constitution itself lends itself to the framework of what we should be, a Christian nation as a part of this conversation, an abiding respect, a sovereign nation, but yes, within the context of people being able to express their rights, people being able to live out the dreams and the aspiration of the founding fathers. I don't know whether that has to be defined in the context of republic, but it means that the Bahamian people, I believe, are wise enough to carve out a destiny that entail the kind of system that is equitable, that is fair, that is empowering, and at the same time contains all of the tenets that is consistent with the value system that we laid out. I think we ought to set the pace in what that conversation should look like.
I can just see it right now that there's some people out there who are listening and already rolling their eyes and saying, what right do you, who represent the church, have to tell us how the state should be run? There's some who believe in this separation of church and state. Let's hear from someone. What are your views as it relates to that?
Yes, I'd like to chime in on that. Thank you, Michelle, and good afternoon, Bahamas. Let me go back just a bit further than Brother Pastor Glenn went. And so to answer your question, asking what right does the church have to speak on this issue, or even in the framework of governance and charting the way forward, let's look at the history of Jubilee. Let's start there. And so if we look at the history, just to call the name Jubilee, right there, the history of Jubilee lies with God. Any encyclopedia, dictionary that you would research, you Google right now on your phone or on your device, the first thing that will come up on your phone when it comes and relates to Jubilee is God. It originated with God. It's a God idea. And so to ask the question, what right does the church have to lead this conversation? I believe that we have the leading right. We have the preeminence. We should be the persons that are out front. While we want to embrace the whole idea of the Kingdom Jubilee Alliance is to embrace the many voices. Right on our platform today, right in this group of persons today, with our sister that is here and Bishop that have joined us, Young and Minot. We see two persons that have returned home to the Bahamas to lend their voices to this whole experience. And these are believers. These are people that have had the God consciousness, and then, of course, that have the concern for this nation. And so as the Bahamas, we, therefore, as kingdom people, we have the right to lend our voices, open our mouths. Jubilee also means sound. It talks about to make a loud sound. And so if ever a time that the church, where Jubilee originates from, needs to lend their voice and make that sound, is now in this 49th year, as we look forward to 50. And so I just want to answer that question directly, and then I'll chime in some more as we proceed in the conversation today.
Okay.
May I add to that as well, please?
Please, go ahead.
When we look at our foundational document, the most important document to me as a believer is the Bible. But what is the most important document to any nation? It is the Constitution. And the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, look at the preamble. And I was just going through it and just writing down some of the phrases: abide in respect for Christian values, recognizing the supremacy of God. We talk about spiritual values, and we were created under God. So every Bahamian should actually be looking to God and the church to answer the questions for the nation. And the church should be stepping up because our founding document sets that up. So we are not out of order as the church to say, when this nation was founded, the Constitution its very self kind of set this nation as a nation unto God. We shouldn't be asking, should the church be involved? We should always be asking, why isn't the church involved?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's more that we should be thinking of. So we have every right to be involved in everything and every aspect of governance, of everything that we do in this country, because that's the way the country was founded 50 years ago.
Amen.
Very powerful. All right. So the top of your list of things that we need to reset in this country is spiritual values, restoration of spiritual values. You look around what is happening in our country, and you wonder if this is the same Bahamas that our founding fathers envisioned way back when they sat down and wrote that document. I dare say that many days in this country, I do not recognize this Bahamas in which we live. We have drifted so far away from our core values. We have embraced many other cultures to, I would dare say, the detriment of our own. Why do you, panel, believe it is necessary for us to now look at this as an opportunity to restore the spiritual values that are so much under attack right now?
Bishop Young?
Yes, a pleasant good afternoon again. I would wish, first of all, to revisit something you wanted clarified a little earlier, Ms. Malcolm.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is that we are self-determining. We've used the word independence in a kind of miscued way. The Bahamas became a self-determining people. In other words, you're still at that point a part of the Commonwealth of Nations, the British Commonwealth of Nations, but we have struck the blow to be internally self-determining on what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and when we do it. And we've maintained over these many years this umbilical cord tie to Great Britain and the realm and everything it represents. So I once wanted to clarify that self-determination. Now, what we've done with that right to determine our future and the future of generations yet unborn is what now comes into question.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to reiterate this fact, and my learned colleagues touched on it a little earlier, and it's this fact. The keys to the opportunity to become self-determining was handed back then to the forefathers who led the charge to the UK, signed all the documents, but the keys to that was handed to them by the church.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
need us to please understand the historical relevance of the church in the life and witness of the building of our country.
Mm-hmm.
The church was intimate and integral as a living, moving part of creating the consciousness in the people, the awareness in the people, carrying the spiritual values and morals and everything that we used to represent. It was in the hands of the church,
Mm-hmm.
not the secular as it is indeed today. So at that juncture, when it was handed to the framers, the Constitution, if you want to call them the forefathers, they envisaged building a nation. I want to implant that right there. Building an ethnos, building a people, not building another oligarchy, not building some to the exclusion of others. We seem to have gone off track from the original core intent of the church handing the keys to the framers and the framers creating this opportunity for us to be self-determining.
Mm.
I want us to really get that right. Now, what right, someone asked a little earlier in your blog, the church has? The church has every right. It was the origin of its engagement and involvement that allowed us to be in the position to be self-determining to begin with. And I must agree with you, subsequent to that, we have seemingly been silent because every wild boar from the forest has broken through the fences and have invaded. I put it that way so you can have invaded us whatever boar you want to call it, whatever tag it is, you call it whatever, but it's a wild thing that was not part of our heritage, part of our spirit, part of who we are as a people. We've lost that. And in the losing of that, there has been an emergence of a different spirit that is contrary and contradictory and not aligned to the Bahamian spirit.
Yes, sir.
And it is that the church must now restore.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to read a comment from one of our Facebook viewers, and then we have to take a break, and I guess we can sort of tackle this comment on the other side of the break.
Yes.
We see where, let's see, Miko says, just go ahead and pull it up. The church is only a moral compass. Every man and woman who serve in office are God-fearing people. Therefore, God is first. But church leaders are no experts in economic development. They should not be hindrance to empowering the people as they have done in the past for handouts from the corrupt. Gentlemen and I want y'all to ponder those thoughts. We can take this break. And then on the other side of the break, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to answer that particular. That's the caller for the show. Okay, I'm going to give you an opportunity to answer, but we have to let our sponsors pay. We have to give them their just dues. So let's take this commercial break, and then we're going to have a response to what Miko had to say with regard to the role of the church. Stay with us. This is GPS. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem. Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rims, paint, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Glasses love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company. We have quite an impressive panel today. We're talking about whether or not it's time to reset as we celebrate our Golden Jubilee. The telephone numbers to call 326-0271, 326-0271, 326-0272, 326-0272. The WhatsApp line for calls and messages is 801-0271, 801-0271. We're streaming live on Facebook, on the official Michelle Malcolm and Global 99.5 FM pages, as well as on our YouTube channels. You can catch us on Keep of Bahamas channel 974, and you can download the Global 99.5 FM app and catch us there. On the radio dial, 99.5 FM here in New Providence, and also a huge welcome to our audience listening in all the way from Grand Bahama. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. So, in case you tuned in late, our guests today are representatives of the Kingdom Jubilee Alliance. Kingdom Jubilee Alliance, which is made up of pastors and other stakeholders who are very much concerned about the direction that the country is heading, and are hoping to lend their voices and their hearts and hands and feet and everything else towards bringing about a better change for the nation. So prior to the break, we have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Madam Michelle.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon to you and all your panel.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I believe I identify one of them connected to the bloodline. That's my bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I want to salute you. It's a very sober premise that you raised today to reset. But I think you have one female sister there among the group, right?
Yes.
I want to salute her. And I am not one who do not recognize gift. I am a believer of gift. But the premise that that lady, whoever she is, as she execute her premise, I am so proud to have or hear a Proverbs 31:10 woman.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And indeed, a little more of her. And her premise was, we have to reset back to our spiritual values. I am getting old in age with two beautiful daughters. And I am also confused. And I am not one easily to be disruptive Brother Glenn know my family very well, and my father was a 100% alpha male.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sometimes the Bahamas that Madam Michelle said a moment ago that I once knew, this is not the same. Spiritually, I am disappointed in what I'm seeing. Two premises at my heart, and I'm going to ask this group. Have we lost the traditional family, or there is an attack on the traditional family? That's one. Spiritually, the madam raised spiritually that we are digressing and we need to reset. Where was this voice? Or where is this voice? This is still John, Pride Month, on the raising of pride flag that represent the LGBTQ, whatever they name. And they are still. Now we have yet to have done it here. But in America, they have two big black bowmen adopting children. And they are calling themselves family. And I believe that we are being pressured to pick up those liberal values here in this country. If you all see what I'm seeing, I would like for you all to respond. But I want the lady to be the last person to respond.
I thought you was going to take her first, Brother P.
No, I want her to be the last.
How he could determine who will speak when on station?
I love you like a sister. We're not going to. Your show is sober today.
Yes, sir.
I want those questions to be asked. Where is this voice that allowed and didn't say anything? Where is the voice on homicide? Young men are being slaughtered. My cousin is a part of this group. Young men are being slaughtered every other day. Where is this voice? Where was this voice on the transgender who is boldly now opening themselves and their mouth and invading the show? And I know my cousin is not an effeminate man. He don't have none of that in his bones. Please, I would like to know what happened to you all voice on those particular issues. I'll hang up and listen.
Now, before you guys answer, thanks for calling, Dr. B. We are going to be talking about rebuilding the family a little later on in the show because it's one of the things on the list. Okay, so you guys don't have to address that at this point, but you can go ahead and address everything else that he spoke of.
Let me just say this in a general way, and the fact that my cousin brought up all of these things, I'm sure Kim, who not only represent a significant part of this conversation, but I think she also was a part of that platform just over the weekend, so I'm sure she'll speak to that later. But what I want to say in this regard, Shelley, this is one of the reasons a reset is necessary. This is one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons that when you reach a 50th anniversary, you should not take it as a flippant moment. It shouldn't be casual. You know, we shouldn't be distracted by all of the other things that is going on and leave out the most significant part of the conversation. And so we would have as a group had sit down conversation with the Christian Council. We're undergoing reaching out to additional pastors and churches. And part of the challenge to them is that this moment lends itself to our collective voices to address the things that Brother P is talking about. And I do believe that God, who is the author of nation, knows that when a nation reaches its 50th mark, it perhaps will naturally go off course. And that's why to my brother Bishop Young, it is critical for us at this moment to look at what the founding fathers envisioned, because that's the reference point, right? And so we have this opportunity to acknowledge going off course. I like the story of Nehemiah for this reason. Nehemiah not only heard about the walls broken down and the fence burned and other stuff, though he was in a prestigious place, but when he returned to his home, he also said, I pray for the sins of my fathers and myself. So there is an acknowledgement on our part that we would have gone off course. There's an acknowledgement on our part that we have strayed away from the landmark. And the structure family is an important part of it. The voice of the church is an important part. Education, all of those things are an important part of it. And you rightfully pointed out that we're going to have those conversations. Albeit I know we can't do it on this one time. But after listening to all of your promo, I say, man, it almost sounds as if Kingdom Jubilee was set up to marry your radio station with all of the with all of the things that are coming to it. But the point I'm making is that this moment itself, God understand human frailties, understand the shortfall of man. Say, I will give you a set time to reconcile. I will give you a set time to get into a redemptive position. I will give you a set time to roll back your errors so that you can begin afresh. And this conversation, while we acknowledge the past, is also about an opportunity for us to begin afresh. And it begins with the restoration of our spiritual values, out of which the family structure emerged, out of which the church finds its legitimate voice, out of which the various institution is established. And I'll just say it in this point, that makes the church then significantly relevant to how the nation is governed. Not only in terms of what was mentioned from the Constitution, but we accept that part of our spiritual understanding is that the God of the nation has a part in the direction that the nation goes.
All right, so let's go back to the text that the Facebook comment that I showed prior to the break, because this person is making some serious assumptions here.
Mm-hmm.
It says the church is only a moral compass. Every man and woman who serve in office are God-fearing people. Now, Miko, I don't know what fantasy land you live in, but I don't know how you figure that. But anyhow, it ain't for me now because my panelist answer. Let me keep reading your message. It says, therefore, God is first, but church leaders are no experts in economic development. They should not be a hindrance to empowering the people as they have done in the past for handouts from the corrupt. How do y'all respond to that?
May I respond to that, Michelle? I was making some notes, and
Mhm.
the caller, the previous caller, left us so much that we can respond to as well. But I was making some notes on Miko's point, and when he said, we're all God-fearing people, I think what he really means is that we all acknowledge there's a God. That for the most part, Bahamians are not atheists, because we know that we're not all God-fearing people in our practice. But what I wanted to respond to and what he said is that something that I'm coming to recognize is important and we have to call forth. When we think of the church too often, we think of church leaders, think of the pastors and the bishops. We think of those who occupy the pew. We forget that the majority of churchgoers we think of those who occupy the pulpit and forget that the majority of churchgoers occupy the pew. And in the pew, there are bankers and lawyers and people with expertise. And so in this season, we are calling those persons with those expertise who know God, who understands, like the Apostle Peter said, that everything we need for godly living, God has given us. And so if you are a believer who is in the banking sector, who's living a set-aside life, not one of those wishy-washy ones that, Michelle, you would have been referring to, but if you are a believer who's a lawyer, who's a doctor, God is calling you to be a part of this spiritual restoration with the values that he has given you, but also the expertise that he's allowed you to have in your particular field. So I want to say that at this juncture in our reset, we have to stop thinking, when we think of the church, we must stop thinking about the pulpit. We are now calling the pew, those who occupy the pew, who God has been working in. And you know what? One of the things the caller says is that where were we during certain times? Well, some of us were gaining some of those expertise so we can speak at this time. Yes. And then some of us were raising children. And some of us were being homemakers and doing other things with our lives. So now God is opening up the airways or just giving us the platform to be able to speak. So I want to reiterate this point to any believer who's listening. If you know God, if you are surrendered in your daily lifestyle to him, and he's given you expertise. One of the things, Michelle, that I believe, when the Bahamas goes to, for instance, we talk about belonging to the Commonwealth. What about all these UN conventions we sign on to? What about all of these things that we put our names to, that we hold this nation accountable to, that in some instances we don't even know about, and oftentimes they go against the moral compass of this country. So I always say that if you are in a position where you see what is coming down the pipeline, for instance, you're part of a delegate that goes to the United Nations, And you know this document that we are being asked to sign on for is somewhat questionable. Why not raise the alarm in your Christian community so we can know what to prepare for, what to pray for, and then what to speak out against?
Let me just say this, because we have a call on the line that I'm going to have to go to momentarily. But let me just say this in response to Miko, and in addition to what you just said. You know, I am so sick and tired of people thinking that in order to be a Christian, you have to be a mindless, thoughtless idiot. There are pastors in the pulpit, in addition to those who attend church in the pews. Listen, my pastor is a former accountant who was the head accountant for the mortgage corporation for years.
Yes, ma'am.
Before he decided to go into ministry full time. So where y'all get this notion that Christians have nothing to offer other than being Bible, y'all need to get with it, because that attitude, I'm sorry.
But Michelle, I was introduced to governance by way of the founding father of the nation as a young police officer. So it speaks to the like Kim saying, the various kinds of discipline. We have, for an example, believers who are trained lawyers who are part of the organization. And when we come to policy and other stuff, they're going to be a part of this conversation. So I joined Kim in saying this is beyond just pastors. This is about those who can lend to the building of our nation outside of the realm of what we call the day-to-day politics, but who really wants to do the country well and can lift the country in that kind of way. So we this is for all Baymen. This is a moment for forward, upward, onward together. And that's why we're having this conversation in this regard.
We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Yes, Ms. Malcolm. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I have a question for just about all of the days pastors, reverends, church people, churchgoers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things going on in this country right now, and you don't hear from none of them. And this ain't to do with religion. And I put my 10 toes down in the sand on this. You don't hear from none of them. And here's a question I have for all of them. That move, what Keith Bell do? You don't hear no position from none of them on that. That's one. Two, the shanty towns. You don't hear none of them talking about that. None. Right? Number three, I want to ask each and every one of them to give their opinion on this. Do they know the Constitution and what makes people a behemoth? Because I hear some of them saying the people them born here, and I really need to hear them, because guess these things that matters. The religion side of that, that's fine. You know, I know God, that's fine. But I have a problem when they select things to come to speak about. Now, here's this thing. I really have a problem on this. What I want to hear what they feel and they soul and they bone about what Keith Bell done. And this, to me, where they supposed to be vocal. I ain't here to question them and them sweet talking. That's what it sounds like to me. A bunch of them just sitting down sweet talking you. I'm here to find out about the issue about this country and my childhood growing up. Because for what I hear, what makes you a behemoth, that have nothing to do with you born with. Now, here's where I challenge them. And I can hang up and listen to this. And this, to me, in my opinion, this can really see where they are. Do they know the Constitution? I want each and one of them to ask them, do they know the Constitution of what makes you a behemoth, and why none of them speak out on what Keith Bell does? And said, and I can listen to what they have to say. Thank you.
All right, thanks for calling. Anybody?
I would wish to first of all say this.
Chairman B.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hear me well. Okay. I would wish to first of all say this. I'm not gonna specifically address the issues he brought up, but what I'm gonna say gives you the premise why his feeling is what it is towards church leadership. For the most part, and I'm going out on a limb here, I'm not suggesting this is the premise of our Kingdom Jubilee group, but I know speaking the truth is very critical. We've raised up 2 or 3 generations of Bahamians who have never, ever seen the church in a leadership role.
Mm-hmm.
Mute, silent. We've also growing up these generations now who have never seen strength in leadership, leading, sacrificing, bringing people up, lifting the lid. So, what is in most people's mind today with the absence of the voice of the church? And I'm not talking about the denominational church. I'm not talking about institutional church. This is the context of church to which I speak. Church being individuals in whom is the indwelling presence of God's Holy Spirit. That's the church that I speak to. That church has been silent for the most part. And we've raised up and reared up individuals who are now an integral part of the society who've never seen people take a stand. Stand up. Let me hear your voice. Is this right? Is that right? We've been absent of that. And that's helped to bring us to this slippery slope that we have found ourselves on. We don't stand no more. We don't critically analyze no more. We don't look at issues based upon what's right and what's wrong in it. It's about taking sides on things rather than taking the right side and making the right decision. That's the aura of the environment that we have been incubated in for more than 40 years now. That is part of our problem. So now we're in a position where we're trying to re-energize and bring back the church in its legitimacy and in its place of rightfully having a voice to speak to the issues. So the person who texts you the message, he's right on point. We've been bereft. We've fallen off the wagon and we've been silent. And indeed, the young man that just brought the issues, not that those specific issues would be necessarily all issues for church leadership to speak to. Mm-hmm. But certainly, if there was a premise of what the church stood for and what its belief system is so indelibly strong in the mind of John Q. Public at large, those questions would never arise. But we have been remiss. We have been silent. And we have to repent for that because we have failed the nation.
And Michelle, if I can only add to that, and that's why we're having this conversation. We have to acknowledge that the skepticism, the rightful skepticism, but there's a moment, reset is not just for some. Reset includes all of us. I often say to people, when we had COVID, Doreen, the church was included in that shutdown. And some of the conversation we have internally is the same kind of conversation. And that is, we have to acknowledge our downfall. But we must not stay in that position. We must be men and women of integrity, men and women of character. But it also means that we must be consistent in raising these issues. So whether it be the key bell issue, whether it be the and we don't know the full facts yet. We're still trying to find out what that means. But in the context of that, right, that government has a responsibility to act in the best interest of the Bahamian people in terms of its immigration laws and policies. For too long, and part of that skepticism is that you have a lot of Bahamians who saw a government working for others and not the Bahamian masses. So all of these things the church have to lift its voice to, and I think part of why we're having this conversation is that we commit ourselves to the lifting of that, but we acknowledge that we have to be consistent. We have to call, like Bishop Young said, call truth for what it is. We cannot be blinded by our political colors, and I think all of us on this platform, having had the conversations internally and now publicly, is committed to that process. How do we go about the liberation of our people in a meaningful way?
Okay, we have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good day. How you doing, Lady Malcolm?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. And to Pastor Glenn and his team.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have the utmost respect, especially for Pastor Glenn. The other one sound just as I have a lot of respect for. But I kind of agree with what the pastor said just now, even though he never really did answer the caller's questions directly. But that was an excellent answer that he gave. He spoke truth in that the church has failed us. And I qualify that by saying during the pandemic, the church is supposed to be autonomous, and the church and the government are supposed to be separate and apart, even although the church was supposed to be advising the government, just like the preamble says. That's why the preamble stands outside of the articles in the front of the Constitution, that we be guided, the nation should be guided by Christian values and principles. But however, when the call was given to shut their doors during COVID, I first cracked, all man was gone. The only person that persons like myself could find when we needed some kind of spiritual guidance was Pastor Morrison. He never closed his doors. The police passed once or twice, but they didn't dare step inside of the church to arrest anybody. And that was when I kind of lost most of my respect for the church. Now, the question, I'm happy he didn't answer it, but I can answer it for him. What Minister Bell did was incorrect in that case precedence has already been set by the Darcy Ryan case years ago, when the Darcy Ryan case went before the Privy Council, and the Nationality Act was given to the Lords, and they took the Nationality Act and set it aside. They said this is unconstitutional because the Constitution of the Bahamas was set in 1973 prior to the Nationality Act. So that took precedence. So they asked the Bahamas for their constitution, in which Sir Lyndon Oscar Pinlin and the Minister of Immigration then was set aside also by the Privy Council. Because remember, they told Darcy Ryan he'll never get no citizenship, but the Lords, according to the Constitution, awarded him his citizenship based on our Constitution. So I'll answer that question for you. Thanks for taking my call, Lady Mark.
All right.
Thank you, caller.
We have to take a break. So on the other side of the break, where's that coming from? On the other side of the break, we're going to switch focus and talk about access to our land and rebuilding our families. Dr. P, you should get all excited over the next portion of the show. Stay with us. This is GPS. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rib, pinch, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z-Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z-Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z-Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z-Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company. We are talking today to members of the Kingdom Jubilee Alliance about whether or not this Golden Jubilee anniversary is an opportunity for us as a nation to embark on a God-ordained reset moment. We'd love to hear from you. The telephone numbers to call 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272. The WhatsApp line is 8010271. You can either call or text us on that line. Again, it's 8010271. You can catch us live streaming on YouTube, on our official channels, as well as on our Facebook pages. And you can catch us on Cable Bahamas Channel 974 or by radio 99.5 FM on your dial here in New Providence. Also on radio coming to you from Grand Bahama. Last but not least, you can download the Global 99.5 FM app and definitely check us out there. Cable Bahamas Channel 974. So now that you know how to get us, we have a caller on the line. So let's go straight to that caller. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Hello, Miss Bahamas, Miss Malcolm.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm okay. All is well.
Good.
I stand to realize that there are many haters in this country trying to start division. But I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. You personally, you is a professional journalist, and you've been through the ropes. Now the question is this: if a law is now present, approved in the books, wasn't it approved by the House of Parliament? That's the question.
Yeah, they are the lawmakers, yes.
Right. The Nationality Act, wasn't that approved?
Well, you see, the challenge is, as if you listen to the
challenge. Okay.
If you ask me a question, don't cut me off when I'm answering it. Okay? We ain't playing that game today.
Okay, let's go there.
The challenge is that you have a supreme law in your country called the Constitution of the Bahamas.
Right.
So our lawmakers could pass every act in the world they want passed.
Right.
But if the acts that they pass contradict the Constitution, the Constitution takes precedence over any other act that is passed.
Yes. All right. Now that's correctly answered. I accept that. But and this is it. That question is followed by another question.
Mm-hmm.
Now, isn't there a word called amendment?
Yes.
So, if a law is amended to the Constitution, approved by the entire House of Assembly, isn't it like how did it get contrary?
Let me tell you where you went off just now. And you need to start listening to our Constitution show every Monday. Okay, so you will have the answer to these questions that you're asking. The House of Assembly passing an act is not the same as an amendment to the Constitution. They're two separate things. In order for us to make an amendment to the Constitution, it has to go to referendum. You can't let me finish. This is why you need to start listening to the show on Mondays.
No, Miss Malcolm, an amendment could be, a law could be amended
no, sir.
right now.
A law, but not the Constitution. The Constitution can only be amended.
Now, if you want to change a law in the Constitution, then you got to go through the referendum. If you want to change any of those articles in the Constitution, you have to go to a referendum.
That's what we're talking about.
Amend a law to any of the laws in the Constitution, that could be done by the House of Assembly.
No, sir.
Malcolm.
No, sir. You can amend an act from now till Kingdom Come. You can amend them as many times as you want to.
Yeah, but now only if you want to change
that
those
goes
articles,
in contradiction to what is contained in the.
You do beautiful for me to argue with you.
But you arguing from a position of being wrong. And what is killing you with y'all is come strong, but you're wrong.
But you answering from a point which is wrong.
No, sir.
And misleading.
No, sir. You need to start listening to our show on Monday, where we have a professor.
Listen.
No, sir.
The professor, how much time you ask him what this law is? He can't even tell you. What professor?
The bottom line is this. You can amend an act as many times as you want to through the House of Assembly. There's no problem with that. But when it comes to making an amendment to the Constitution of the Bahamas, the only way that can be done is by a referendum. I'm asking you nothing.
Not an amendment.
You're talking about two different things, young man.
Only if you want to change a law in the Constitution, which is presently existing.
What do you think amendment mean?
Only if you want to change one. Now, for you to change that, you have to go to a referendum. But if you want to make an amendment to any of those laws, the House Assembly could do that.
Not in the Constitution.
Okay, you do your research.
The laws that you call it laws, the different acts that they bring and pass in the House Assembly, they could change them as many times as they want to change them.
Let me listen.
They could change them for morning, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They could change them. But when the acts that are passed in the House of Assembly can be amended left, right, and center, day in, day out.
Yeah, and they could amend laws.
When it comes to the Constitution,
now in the laws that exist now, they are amended laws. They are amended laws to the Constitution. All laws.
No, sir, you are in error. You are in error because you are mixing up the Constitution with these various acts that are passed in the House of Assembly. They're not one and the same.
All the laws that exist today are amended laws to the Constitution.
What do you mean amended to the Constitution? What does that mean?
They are, all the articles in the Constitution, right? 1973 Constitution would exist today. The laws would have been passed from the House Assembly are amended laws to the Constitution. Now, contrary, according to the Constitution, any of those laws, then you got contrary.
You're not making sense, caller. You're not making sense.
Are amended laws.
Can I
go ahead, Pastor Glenn.
Can I just word this for the caller? Certainly, I think what Michelle said in terms of laws should be reflective of the Constitution. So that being settled, I think the point you're trying to make is this: if, for an example, I made a bad law in the first place, once I bring a law back that reflect what the Constitution was meant, then an amendment is made in that form and fashion, and in that way, in that way, it ties in and is consistent with what Michelle is saying. That is all laws, because of the supremacy of the Constitution, all laws should reflect the meaning of, and that's why you have sometimes Parliament will pass a law, but when it goes through the court system, the court, which is a trier of what the laws and the Constitution says. You see that in the case of where now we're dealing with this citizenship as it relates to Bahamian men and foreign women. So there should be the laws that go by way of Parliament should truly be a reflection of what the Constitution says. Other than that, it can be challenged.
But they aren't always. That's the point.
Bishop,
Yeah.
That is determined by the House of Assembly if they want to amend the law.
Yeah, the House of Assembly, as House of Assembly, which is the legislative body, can bring a law back to now reflect what the Constitution meant, implying the person.
The law is contrary. They feel that the law what they passed recently or whenever was contrary to the Constitution and all the articles in the Constitution, then they could re-amend it. But if they feel like the law what they pass and they approve is acceptable, it remains.
But see, young man, what you seem to be missing in this conversation is when it comes to the Constitution, just like when it comes to the Bible, this ain't got nothing to do with your feelings.
I know it. I absolutely.
It has to do with what is written.
And every law in the Constitution I accept.
So you could have a set of parliamentarians who go in there who do not have adequate knowledge of what is in the Constitution. And they could pass anything and everything they want to pass and then and call it law.
But by the opposition and the government, if it's approved, it's approved.
It could be approved from now till kingdom come. But if at the end of the...
accept it.
No, sir. Not if it is in contrary to the Constitution of the Bahamas. And this is why you have challenges.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
the Constitution is the supreme law of the Bahamas.
If they want to challenge it, if the citizens want to riot, if they want to do stuff like that, then you can challenge it. But in the meantime, it remains until the House Assembly decides to re-amend.
No, you could appeal. It could go all the way to the Privy Council, and the Privy Council can rule as it just did. Follow your Constitution.
That's if the bar or some lawyers decide to challenge the law the law was passed in the House Assembly and they take it to the Privy Council. If some good lawyer decide to represent a body to take certain laws what some people disagree with to the Privy Council, then
at the end of the day,
give a ruling.
But at the end of the day, the Constitution will always trump any act or law that was passed in the House of Assembly, separate and apart from the Constitution. The Constitution is your supreme law.
I'm not denying that.
And we have another caller, because I don't know if you figure you already know the answer, why you call and ask the question. I don't get that. But anyway, we have another call on the line. And you just eat up a whole segment of my show when we're supposed to be talking about something with sense. But anyhow, go ahead. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to GPS.
Yeah, Lady Malcolm. I had to call back, but I called it just now because I know why he lasted so long. See, let me try to explain it to him in the kind of terms that he come from. There are two laws. One is the highest law, which is the Constitution. Now, the laws he's speaking about that are made and can be adjusted in the House of Assembly as like bylaws. They laws that have to coincide with the Constitution, which they always don't. And in this case, what he's trying to justify is the law that Keith Bell did with the Nationality Act. But the Privy Council, if he was listening to your show earlier when I said the Privy Council, they gave the Privy Council the Nationality Act, what he's talking about, that was made in the House of Assembly, but it was contrary to the act in the Constitution, and the lords in England told them, we don't want that because that is null and void.
Exactly. Follow your Constitution. Listen, you didn't listen, I ain't just follow the turn of truck, you know.
I know. I tried to explain
I
it
know
there.
we got
So,
some people in this country who can't see beyond political colors.
exactly. You see, so what
I
the Lord,
stupid. I just reach.
what the Lord
This chicken
asked
been around a
for,
little while now. I know this.
what the Lord asked for after they throw that nationality act away and say that ain't no good, they asked for our Constitution. What you talking about? Now, what the Constitution said is what the minister got to adjust his schedule by. He can't go by no nationality act
Listen,
or
man.
how he feel like that caller. He got to go by what the Constitution says in citizenship.
I don't have anything against Keith Bell, right? But I don't like when people try to use smoke and mirrors to distract people from truth. Because as I was driving here today, I heard his response, and he said something to the degree that, the gentleman whose funeral he was at was a Bahamian, and that, the Privy Council just ruled that if you are a Bahamian man, you are entitled to pass on your citizenship to your wife and children. That is, the Privy Council just said to us, follow your constitution. They were specifically speaking about single Bahamian men not being able to pass on their citizenship to their children born to foreign women. Why you gonna try mix up people by acting like that ruling, that judgment had anything to do with this case? What we looking at now?
Lady Malcolm,
It is disingenuous.
It is. Yes, it is. It is just.
And they are trying to operate on people's minds who ain't got enough sense or don't want to take the time to find out truth. All you want to do is this is my party, so I support him. What he's saying, do no matter what. And this is why we are in the position we are in this country, because y'all refuse to call right and wrong based on your politics. It has to stop.
Based on the Constitution, Article 6 and 7, if either parent is Bahamian, then your chances are much better. In that case, none of them were natural born Bahamian. One of them was naturalized. And the husband that was naturalized, if the wife wanted to get citizenship, the first thing the husband was supposed to apply, or Keith Bell and them was supposed to give up, was a work status permit.
Spousal permit.
That's what she's supposed to get. But Keith Bell jump all over that and gone. Second of all, according to the Constitution, because I didn't want Magada Walter Thompson call me Robin. According to the Constitution of the Bahamas, the two children born to two immigrant parents have to wait to apply at the age of 18. And I sure they ain't 18 yet, because he said the man just reached in the 90s.
Small children. Here's the thing.
So he erred in plenty ways.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the point that I really didn't want to go down this road today, because we
I
just
agree.
dealt with this
Neither me.
yesterday, right? But to me, the greater question is, what qualified the deceased gentleman for citizenship to begin with?
Say that again?
What qualified the deceased gentleman to receive citizenship to begin with? Under which article in the Constitution of the Bahamas was he entitled to citizenship? Remember now, I have said that when it comes to the Constitution, like I believe it comes to the Bible, this ain't got nothing to do with how I feel.
No, not how you feel or how you
This
look.
ain't got nothing to do with me having
your dress.
sympathy for nobody, and my deepest sympathy goes out to the family of the gentleman who died. I'm not trying to be insensitive to their pain.
I knew him personally.
But when it comes to your Constitution, this ain't got nothing to do with your feelings. And you want to be kind and compassionate. I would like to know upon which article was he granted citizenship to begin with?
Yeah, what was his qualifications?
I think that is where we need to begin this conversation.
Yes, we need to look that way, but I can leave you with this. You know me, I like throw rock, right? I can leave you all with this. The name Bell is not B-E-L-L. The name Bell is B-E-L-L-E.
Listen.
And in France, it is la pronome
belly.
I ain't trying. Listen, I ain't trying to go
I
down
go on,
that
I
road.
go on. I
I
just
ain't
throw my
trying.
rock.
I ain't. Yeah, you throwing rock, and you need to stop. I ain't trying to go down that road. I'm just saying, stop trying to mislead people. You get catch doing wrong.
Yes.
And as opposed to doubling down,
Apologizing, he doubles down.
apologize.
Yeah.
We admit offense.
And here's my thing. I really didn't want to go there today, but I could just say it. Here's my thing. If this is something the minister decided in his heart he wanted to do out of compassion, like he said, would it not have been better for you to go to that woman and say, listen, we are going to get you straight. At the next swearing in for citizenship, I need you to be there for such and such a time at such and such a place, and we will go ahead and swear you in at that time, and your husband will rest in peace. I ain't saying would have been right, but he could have easily done it. But no, you on grandstand because you have audience.
That's right.
Because it's all about impressing this audience who you can come back to later on for votes. Okay. I call a spade today. I really don't want to go there.
Agreed.
You on grandstand.
Yeah. If
that could have easily been done in private. And ain't none of us would have known no better. But you got audience. We have a call on. See, I just try hard, Pastor Glenn. These people is neat.
And it feeds into the exacting Bahamians feel that is going on in our country. That Bahamians are left out. No sense of compassion for them. All of these different stuff. But like you said, that's the total
my deepest and sincerest condolences to the widow and the children of the deceased. I'm not trying in any way to be insensitive to your pain, because I know what it is. I just lost my father in November. I know that pain. So I'm not trying to be insensitive in any which way. But we got to stop playing with the birthright of this nation.
Amen.
And acting like it's no big deal.
Absolutely.
We got to stop. And I ain't only talking to Keith Bell. I'm talking to all of y'all who passed through that House of Assembly in the last 50 years. And been playing with our Constitution and our birthright like it's a bowl of porridge. Amen. Stop it. The Bahamian people are tired. We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
It's Malcolm.
Yes, sir.
I hope you're doing well.
Oh, Professor, I'm so glad you called.
I told Jason I was prompted to call because I heard everything that was said. I heard the caller ask whether your panel knew the Constitution. Now, let me just say this. For the last 50 years, Bahamians who elected personalities, I want you to listen carefully to what I'm saying. Bahamians who elected personalities to go to the House of Assembly, they trusted these individuals to act on their behalf. There is an abundance of evidence to show that those personalities who were sent to the House of Assembly to run our national affairs did not do justice to the Bahamian people. The evidence is loud and clear. And what was displayed by the current Minister of Immigration and Labor is nothing new. This is something that's been going on for too long, where the people themselves did not keep tabs on those who were sent to do our national business. We now know after 50 years, see, when the Queen died, that's when everything started to flare up. People began to ask questions about their constitutional rights. The unfortunate thing is we do not have qualified personalities who are able to put in simple, basic, fundamental language the tenets of the Constitution. The Constitution, as you said, Ms. Malcolm, is the supreme law of the land. The government of the Bahamas has not been operating according to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas. You want the proof? Article 6. The simplest article in your Constitution that speaks to citizenship. One line, one sentence. They messed up on that. I won't talk about the others. And the caller called in, I think he got mixed up with Article 6 and Article 7. Two different things entirely. These articles are very specific. They have dates, they have times, and people are overlooking the fact, the details that are mentioned.
Yeah.
In Article 6, it's very specific about the father or the mother being Bahamian at the date of birth of the child, and the child has to be born where? In the Bahamas. That is very specific and very clear. It has nothing to do with that nonsense what the minister did the other day.
Yeah.
But because of a lack of understanding, it's a whole lot of confusion. I've been listening to all lot of crappy things that people have been saying. Now, they have a right to express their view. I'm not even going to get into that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
The information is fraudulent. It is not correct. It is not constitutionally sound. Did the minister's behavior act that he did, was it constitutional? I'll even take it even further. The government of the Bahamas, see, I look beyond the minister himself. I look at the government of the Bahamas. Was the government of the Bahamas constitutionally sound in this respect? The answer is no. There is no article in the citizenship section of the Constitution that would give the Minister of Immigration any such authority. I may have gotten out that Nationality Act, which is not even a law. It is not a legal document. It has no legal standing whatsoever. Nothing. But I see all the crap they have in it, and they have certain points of the Constitution in it, mixing in with it, with the foolishness they have in there. That act is not law, period. It was not certified in a referendum by the Bahamian people. And every constitutional article, in fact, most of them, 130-something of them, about 10 of them may not have to go to the Bahamian people. But the overwhelming majority, that's why I'm so delighted how the Founding Fathers set it up. You ain't gonna mess around with this unless you go to a referendum. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
But this current administration is not interested in having any referendum. That's the advice the Attorney General gave them.
Absolutely.
And that is wrong. And we have to tell them that they are wrong. No ifs, no ands, and no buts. The problem in this country is we are not calling out the government of the Bahamas doing all these crappy things, which is not in the best interest of the Bahamian people. And that is the crux of the problem. I've said also again, the Bahamian people, and I mentioned this yesterday, you have to be very careful of the personalities you send to do your national business in the House of Assembly.
Amen.
That is a major flaw that we have made for 50 years. But we can correct that. If you want to have your little party, have your party, but you don't have to be the government of the Bahamas. There's a vast difference between the government of the Bahamas and a political party. The Constitution speaks to both of them. The Constitution speaks to what a representative ought to be doing. The Constitution speaks to what the Parliament ought to be doing. The Constitution speaks to what the Cabinet ought to be doing. Very specific, defined things that we ought to do, but it's not happening. Now, there's a way to deal with people like that who ain't following the law. The Bahamian people have to take up that action. We have to be well organized because our country is in very serious trouble. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad the Jubilee Committee is there and they're doing their part to get the reset in order. And the thing is that we have to go right back to the very beginning, the fundamental tenets in the Constitution, which are outlined in the preamble of the Constitution, the supremacy of God. The Bahamian people never wanted to have a nation without God.
Amen.
Let's get that fact straight across the board.
Yes,
but
sir.
Some personalities believe they know it better than God, so they decide, well, after a while, they can do our own thing. The Bahamians beat them back in line. Because
Sydney,
yes, sir, Esberg.
So Sydney, we need your voice, man. You know, I'll reach out to you. We need your voice.
Because I appreciate what you're trying to do. And, of course, the gentleman who was on air I can understand his confusion. His mind is confused. I don't necessarily blame him. You got thousands and thousands and thousands of things like that. That is why every Monday, that's why Ms. Malcolm told him, listen,
But
every
with
Monday.
all due respect, I don't think he was confused at all. I think he called this show trying to derail based on his political affiliation. Now, if I'm wrong, please forgive me. But I don't think he was confused at all.
But let me say this, Ms. Malcolm. People are politically polarized. That's confusion in itself. Okay? So that is the way they think. That is the way they've been brought up. That is the way they behave. So those of us who know better, it is our duty is to explain in simple, basic, fundamental language to that woman in Baintown who got them 5 boys, the man and talked to those 6 girls, and you're looking for husbands for those girls, and he can't find them. The point is, they need to understand what the Constitution says, not what somebody think in their mind or how they feel today. They wake up on the wrong side of the bed tomorrow morning and talking foolishness. That can't help us.
Yes, yes.
The articles are very specific and very clear. But unfortunately, the government of the Bahamas has gotten lost in Article 6. That is the most simplest one. I won't talk about the other articles. They're even more complicated than Article 6.
Yes.
But they messed up on that. The Bahamian single father, not somebody else, has not been given his
when I heard that on the radio today driving, I said, what the hell is this? Like, what that got, what apple and orange got to do with each other?
Yes.
That ruling by the Privy Council, or I shouldn't even call it ruling. All they said was go to your constitution. It was very clear. It was dealing specifically with single Bahamian men who had children with foreign women in the Bahamas, not being able to pass on this. So why you want to try mix that up with what you with this situation?
With this situation,
You're counting on people's ignorance and playing on that. And this is why we do a show every Monday right here called Masterclass Monday on the Constitution, so these people can stop swinging y'all.
Miss Malcolm. Miss Malcolm.
Thank you very much, Miss Malcolm.
Thanks for calling, Professor. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do believe part of our dilemma is the fact that after 50 years, the Bahamian Constitution is not an integral part of the high school curriculum.
True.
Educating our people. You see, there's so many basic fundamental flaws of what we're not doing that's allowing this thing to be played so many different ways because we're not educating our people. We're not building the nation. You got to do it with education, educational empowerment.
And I honestly believe that is very deliberate, Bishop. Very deliberate.
Yeah.
You want the masses to know, because when you know, then you are empowered to act. We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Thanks, Michelle. Hello, I can call for a bit. Hi to you and your guest. It's encouraging to hear. It's always encouraging to hear the professor speak about our Constitution. I called sometime last year, late last year, concerning what was revealed through the Haitian embassy about us having, or them saying by their count, we have 150,000 Haitians in our land. And as you have affirmed a few show backs that no one has actually answered that from the government end as yet. And I don't think they probably have intent to answer it. But I said on that particular show sometime last year that owing to that figure and what the Lord has revealed to me, and what he has the professor on assignment doing in getting us wisened up to our Constitution and how it relates to matters of nationality. The Lord said that whatever amount of Haitians are in our land, that 90% of them are here wrong. And so if you do the math, 150,000 as quoted by their embassy, was about a year, maybe 2 years now. 90% of that is 135,000 people that have been wrongfully given leave to be in our land, as the professor is aptly showing through educating us in our Constitution, and how now this fraudulent paper of nationality, this nationality agenda that rose up early on in our nationhood is being put forth as a go-ahead, it seems, in our nation by our leaders. And so the question to people like those people there now and our people entirely, Bahamians, would be, what do we do with 135,000 people that aren't supposed to be here, that don't have the right paperwork, the right way of passage to be here? And this is the question that generations, decades of consecutive leadership bouncing between the PLP and the FNM have not been wanting to face, to answer, and to tell the truth about. That's just one thing, but that's a big thing. Because when you're talking about national rights, that is what our country is standing on. So this is the kind of work it's going to take for this nation. And yes, I'm glad that those gentlemen and that lady there represents a body of people that are finally going to stand up and say we need a reset. Yeah. So this is one of the important reasons why. Mm-hmm. And our country, Bahamians, y'all need to stop playing with your lives and with your generations for stupidness, for party politicking, for money, corruption, whatever it is, because now the Father has lit a fuse under it on the 23rd of January this year. And he said he can judge. We are now out of holding pattern for judgment. So if y'all think there's some kind of game, keep playing. These people now are yet another group, who's come out and say, we are trying to get a righteous reset of this land. Bahamians, what y'all gonna do? Y'all either to do the godly, righteous thing and allow this land to be reset by people, righteous people, who want to come in and do it. Not these two gangs, the FNM and the PLP. They've been mashing us up long enough. Y'all got to make up your mind that we are going to reset, or you're the one, the Lord of creation, to do it for us. I can leave you all with that. Praise the Lord.
Very powerful. We got to take a break.
Well said.
Glenn, clearly we got to do a part 2 of this show.
Man, Michelle, she leave it on us just now, man. I break it up right now.
I would like to let y'all comment, but we got to take a break, y'all. My microphones got to get their odds in.
Yes,
all right, so let's take this break. Wow. And we'll see how much we can get done with the last, by the time we finish with that break, with the last 5 minutes of the show. Stay with us. This is GPS.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 hyperimmune egg powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all: schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466.
One of the things I love about the mailboat is their relationship with Bahamas Air. I can earn travel points on my international freight and redeem them when I fly.
For me, online shopping is easy with Mailboat's U.S. addresses and regular freight delivery to Nassau. Plus, I can always prepay customs and freight, and they always notify me when my package arrives.
Yeah, a lot of people think the Mailboat is just for shipping, but they also offer a safe and secure storage facility at affordable rates, all in a central, convenient location.
We also offer passenger service into Freeport multiple times per week with a seating capacity of over 450 persons. With family movies on large screens, one hot meal included, and on-board lounge for snacks and soft drinks. We're the Mailboat. We're bridging people, products, and places.
Executive Printers is your one-stop shop for all your branding and customization needs. Letterheads, envelopes, business cards, invoices, share and gift certificates, rubber stamps, vouchers, funeral programs, brochures, flyers, banners, and promotional items like mugs, water bottles, mouse pads, and key rings, all with personable service and great quality. No project is too small or too large. For great turnaround and competitive pricing, make an executive decision. Call us at 393-5011.
It's Global Radio 99.5.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here with members of Kingdom Jubilee Alliance, who clearly got to come back because we didn't get half of what we were supposed to talk about.
May I answer Preston P conversation, yet he can call me and ask for Kim number himself, you know.
Well, I clearly failed as a host today because I allowed people to sort of point us in the direction where we were supposed to be going, but I think it was a needed conversation.
Yes, Michelle, if I can just say it.
You did not fail. Can I say this?
If I could just say it in this way, I think it was not only needed. I think part of our appearance is so that we could position ourselves to not only get a sense from our own view, but equally to understand and appreciate what the Bahamian people are going through. So I think it's very, very important for us to take that route, and I appreciate you to allow it to flow in that direction.
So, Pastor Glenn, I'm going to reach out to you after the show so we can arrange a part 2. Right?
Absolutely.
Because I would like to give you guys the opportunity to talk about what we were supposed to be talking about on the show today. You know, I get get so, for too long, we have allowed politicians. Let me even go there. I could say something in the last 3 minutes of this show. You all know me. I always coming from left field sometimes, right? But there's a method to my madness. You know, I did a show with Pierre DePuche recently talking about a book called The New Confessions of an Economic Hitman. If you haven't seen it, please go and watch that show. Better yet, read the book. John Perkins is the author. And one of the things the book talks about is how these external influences pressure these governments, these government leaders, to sign off on these agreements, take these hefty loans that they can't pay back, and then when they can't pay them back, they come back for their pound of flesh. Now they say, okay, you got to let our businesses come and set up your country. You got to sell your utilities to us. You got to do this. You got to do the next. And because they have to put them in this position where they don't have a choice, they have to kowtow to the pressures of these external forces. I would like to know, this is just me thinking now, because there seems to be people on both sides of the political divide who are hell-bent on changing the trajectory of this nation to infiltrate us with cheap labor. Why? What is coming down the pipeline, possibly, that has been dictated to our leaders? And I ain't just talking about this current administration.
Yes.
They know they need cheap labor to fulfill the obligations for what come in. Could that be something that's going on here? Because there's got to be a reason why our leaders continuously, administration after administration, are so eager to sell out this nation. To sell our birthright for a bowl of porridge has got to be a reason for this.
Michelle, that's one of the reasons we have to have this conversation, because the Bahamas have to be a part of this process.
Something going on here.
Yes,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It's a global.
There's more to this than meets the eye.
It's a global agenda, Michelle. I mean, it's a global agenda, and the Bahamas.
People, wake up and think.
Yes, and the Bahamas have to be the one that is destined to push this back, to reset, the carve in space.
It's 4 o'clock. I need to go take some
It begins with us being honest. It begins with us being honest. The first step towards recovery is being honest and open. That's straight across the board, from the church all the way down, being open and honest as to where we are.
Pastor Glenn, I can call you. We can wake it up.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank all of you for being here today.
Thank you.
The next time we ain't gonna lose track like that.
Good show. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thanks so much for joining us, everybody, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for our Wellness Wednesday show. Take care.
Thank you much. Thank you, Michelle. Bless you. Thank you, guys. Stand by for Michelle. Thank you, guys.
Reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests, and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network.